Welcome back to another edition of the Gabagools Podcast, episode 48. With me today, my co-host, as always, the Cuzzo, Dan. How we feeling?
48. We're feeling 48. It's one of those lazy Mondays for me. You get up a little bit later. You don't have to work today. Do a load of clothes here. Beautiful weather. Not really. Still a little nippy out there, but the sun's actually out for once, which is nice. This past week it was a little gloomy. So, yeah, feeling good though. Feeling good. Today is, and then obviously day after the Super Bowl. I'm happy with the results of that game. So, yeah.
Well, good to hear. Good to hear. Obviously, for episode 48, we had to do a player who wore 48, and let's see if you know this one. Let's test your little baseball knowledge. So, it's a baseball player. He batted 278 career batting average, 353 home runs, over 1,300 RBIs, 5-time All Star, 9-time Gold Glove, center fielder. Give you another hint, and he won the Silver Slugger twice. His teams he played for: the Minnesota Twins and the Los Angeles Angels. That's two of the main ones. That I don't know if he played anywhere else, but
No, this is a good one here.
I'll give you one more hint if you need it.
um, Center fielder, 300 something homers, career 300 something average. I think you said. Um, what were the two teams again?
He started off with the Twins and then
Twinkies.
Twinkies and then the Angels. Center field.
I don't know much about this guy, and I don't know if he played. I'm pretty sure he played for Minnesota. I don't know if he...
robbed Barry Bonds in the All-Star game in Milwaukee.
Oh, are we talking Torrey Hunter?
We were talking Torrey Hunter.
Oh, okay then. All righty, Torrey Hunter. Torrey with two eyes.
Yes.
That was always. I was like, oh, he's got two eyes. All right, know why? I'll dig it. Torrey Hunter was a dog back in the day. He was a good player. 48. God, I don't always know people's numbers, but that's why I was like 48. Who the hell wore 48? He was a hell of a player, though.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites. Like he was a Sox killer too when he was with the Twins, and obviously just the way he also played for Detroit. Forgot about that. He had like 2 years in Detroit. Just a guy that was just a solid defensive player. You usually hit like 20 to 30 home runs and just was kind of a thorn in the side of the Sox for a long time because he caught everything in center field. And those were the times that the Twinkies were really good defensively, Mauer behind the plate and, so on and so forth. But yeah, honoring Torrey Hunter today.
I think he had a pretty good arm too in the outfield. He wasn't just a one-trick pony. He had some speed. He had some pop. Could hit for average. Good defender out there. He was, one of those five-tool players. He could do it all.
Yeah, he had a couple injuries near the end of his career, as expected. But yeah, overall, good player. But we'll save baseball for a little bit further. Let's just jump in with the Super Bowl. Obviously, you said it best. You and most of America are happy about the Eagles winning 40-22 over the Chiefs, ending the three-peat, and some might say ending the dynasty of the Chiefs. Some might say it. I'm not saying it, but some may say it. And what I will add into that is the fact that, they got dominated at every facet, special teams, offensively, defensively. The Eagles were just well prepared and just absolutely throttled the Chiefs last night.
Yeah, it was a mauling from start to finish. It was a mangling. It was a manhandling. I got a good one here for you. I looked this up. I couldn't believe that this is what this was, but they goosed him. I don't know if you know what that means, but apparently it's not a bird in this part of the definition. To goose someone is to poke someone between the buttocks.
Oh my God. I thought it was, I was going to say that because like dogs goose people all the time. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you were really going to go there with it. I'm kind of. Oh my god!
I got to be honest with you. I didn't know how much I liked the word goose until earlier today when I looked that up. I thought it was just a bird, and let's face it, the Chiefs got goosed yesterday. They got poked more than a few times
Yeah,
between the
they got
buttocks.
absolutely throttled. Is the best way to put it. Outside of like the last or the fourth quarter, they were non-existent. I mean, yes, they did score in the third quarter with like 34 seconds left. Xavier Worthy got that touchdown, and then obviously Hopkins and Worthy both scored again for, to kind of get Mahomes over that like 257 hump and then three touchdowns, but he was outmatched by Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts overall played a kind of a flawless game. I know he had the two picks, but overall, three touchdowns, 226 yards passing, and then receiving or rushing wise, he led the team in rushing with 72 yards in a rushing score on the tush push. Which, if you would have told me on Friday, oh, Saquon Barkley got held to 57 yards and 25 touches, I would have said, okay, the Chiefs won by, 50. Uh,
Right.
very shocking, very shocking. But I think one of the bigger shocking notes, and I don't know if you noticed this, but the Eagles did not blitz once across 42 dropbacks, and they sacked him. Oh my God, I lost it. They sacked him 6 times.
Six. Yeah.
16 pressures without rushing. So that means their front four was that dominant.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that. They kept saying that like late in the game. They're like they're not even blitzing and
No,
they're getting through. So it spoke to the Eagles D line. Man, were they hungry? They were ready. Kansas City's O line though. I mean, I don't know what
I don't know.
happened. I feel like they
That's
protected him pretty well the whole year. I don't know what happened. I don't know if guys got hurt and we didn't know about it. I don't know if guys just didn't get enough sleep the night before, but they couldn't protect him at all. You said the 16 pressures, the 6 sacks. He was running for his life out there. He
the
was
entire
never
game.
comfortable in that game the whole time. And I think everyone's kind of still in awe of what happened because we haven't seen this from Patrick. I think um,
Not
it
since
was his
2020.
it was his first game for Mahomes with four or more sacks and three turnovers in his
Yeah.
career, I believe. You know, and it, you got to tip your cap to the Eagles. They played a hell of a
100%.
game. The time of possession in this game was like about 37 minutes for the Eagles and about 23 for Kansas City. So, the Eagles just had the ball a heck of a lot longer. And it speaks to, when you look up and see the rushing yard difference, I've mentioned that a lot in the playoffs 135 for the Eagles, 49 for Kansas City.
Yeah.
You would have thought most of those would have came from Barkley too, and
Yeah.
he,
Like,
they made the one thing Kansas City did well. They did not let Saquon get going, but the Eagles, the rest of their team, just said we didn't need them. I mean, it was a mauling.
yeah, you know what, too, is I think going into this game, too, I was kind of expecting the Eagles passing attack to really take over just because that was kind of the one weakness of the Chiefs was their secondary. And they basically, got throttled the entire game. There wasn't like really, it was close to start, but it just seemed like no matter what Mahomes did, and I don't know if it was an odd game from Andy Reid too. It seemed like there was no adjustments, and then once they were kind of getting smacked in the end of that second quarter, you just saw like the life just get sucked out of all of them. Where a lot of those players' heads were down, they just didn't seem like they wanted to come back at all. But yeah, when you turn the ball over that much, like you said too, it was unheard of that you saw Mahomes for one throw the pick six to Cooper DeJean on his birthday, which so happy birthday to Saquon as well. It was kind of interesting just to see how bad that he played. I'm still in awe of that just because you don't really see Mahomes doing that. And, that's why I'm kind of wondering, like, is this kind of it for the Chiefs dynasty where we're going to see that, like, they're going to be competitive. They're still going to make AFC championships because they still have Andy Reid and Mahomes. Those guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. You almost wonder, is it going to be one of those Brady situations where he might make another Super Bowl, but he doesn't win it for a while? There was a time from, 2004 to 2014. They didn't win a Super Bowl. They made it to two of them and they lost to the Giants. But, are we going to start seeing that? Are we going to see like the Peyton Manning years that we saw where he won a couple and then, different teams started winning? Are we going to see Joe Burrow, maybe Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen? He just won an MVP.
You know what? We're at a point right now with all these. You just named a bunch of them with all the young quarterbacks that haven't won one, and you could make the case for a lot of those guys, almost all of them, to say, in the next couple of years, all of them could maybe have one, which is, I think, the best part right now of the NFL. I don't think, when you start having teams like the Patriots, you start developing dynasties. It's good for that fan base. Could be good for the sport, but people start to kind of be like, all right, I want to see somebody else in there. But we do have to give Xavier Worthy his flowers.
Yeah.
Biggest game of really anybody. I mean, Hurts, yes, had the best overall game, but Worthy with 8 for 157 and 2 touchdowns. I believe, he was a rookie this year too. So, heck of a game from him. I know he had a pretty nice season. So they've got their new speedster over there, but you got to see what Kelsey's going to do. We don't know if he's going to keep going or not. And
do you think he retires, or I think he runs it? Personally, I'm thinking he runs it back. I think he, knowing that he has Mahomes and then the emergence of Xavier Worthy, I think they run it back at least one more year. It would not shock me in the least bit if he did decide to retire and hang him up after this year. But I don't see Kelsey doing it, just because I feel like he wants to go out on his own terms of winning. And this could have been it. He probably would have considered retirement if he doesn't, if they would have won. But I mean, after that beatdown, I don't know how you could retire after that.
Yeah, I think. If you ask me right now today, I think Kelsey probably just maybe decides to come back at least for another year. He had kind of an odd year though. I don't know if he really was that dominant as he usually has been the last I don't know how many years. So
yeah,
guess we'd have to see with that. But 40-22 this game ends in, but it was never close. It was 24, I think 24-0 at half, 34-6 after the third.
it was a good old fashioned butt whooping, that's for sure. But
It was a goosing.
I guess right now, unless Mahomes ends up putting something together in the future, I think we could still kind of keep the crown going to Brady as the GOAT. Brady never allowed himself to get beat that badly in a Super Bowl. Even the year that they lost to the Eagles too, in 2017. That game was, the Eagles dominated the Patriots that game, but it was a lot closer than, this game was. This one, the Chiefs weren't even close. And this was, I don't know if Vic Fangio, hats off to him, the defensive coordinator. He got ran out of Miami. He was a head coach for Broncos, got ran out of there too. Goes to the Eagles, makes them, stand up, and that defense is nasty, and they're really young. A lot of them are former Georgia Bulldogs too, so we'll see what comes to them. We could be talking about the Eagles' new dynasty now. Are we going to talk Titletown now?
It's funny. I was just going to mention that because I think I heard someone saying something about that now. Do we have our new dynasty in the NFL emerging?
Just based off of the ages of those players, they're all going to be around for a while. That defense is young. They're nasty. Their coach is going to get re-signed now. I thought that was funny. How many times did we talk about it on the podcast? Philadelphia, the fans hate him. Sirianni might get fired midway through the year, and they end up winning the Super Bowl. It's crazy.
Talk about a turnaround.
Yeah, hats off to Jalen Hurts too. I think people are really hard on him. And he's one of 3 players to win a Super Bowl and win a national championship too. And those other 2 players are Namath and Joe Montana.
Jalen was he was good. He's kind of had an interesting path to the pros, and then his first few years in the big in the NFL, he didn't really do a ton, but then he got going. He was at Bama, right? And then they benched him for Tua, I think, in that game, and Tua was good too. But Hurts, I think, goes to Oklahoma right after that, and then keeps rolling, and then now he's in the pros, and he's been pretty good. I think people were saying, we got to let Hurts beat us through the air. Well, he had a really nice game. Devontae and AJ Brown had some solid games for him. Stars came out for the Eagles. What can you say?
Yeah, Devonta Smith, another guy that's won pretty much everywhere he's gone too. I mean, he's won in bowl games, he's won in national championships. Good for him. He won a Heisman. I think that's a forgotten stat too, that he was a Heisman winner. He had an amazing year that last year at Bama. But yeah, I think the Eagles are here to stay. As long as Barkley is there, I think that offensive line, it's like the heaviest. Do you see that statistic? The heaviest offensive line like ever in a Super
Tallest
Bowl.
too, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, and it was funny because their tallest guy. I don't quote me on this. He's not the tallest guy, but his last name is like Maltia or whatever. I think he plays like left tackle or left guard, and he was a rugby player. They got him in like the seventh round, and he ends up being like an all pro player. So you never know. That's the difference. That I think we could kind of say that we want to see in the Bears or Jets with our new regimes. Essentially, is to see more of those players that you find late that end up becoming stars and develop rather than, we have, we drafted a guard, the Tevin Jenkins of the world who can barely stand in the field and he, wasted a second round pick or whatever we end up using on him. So
Creativity, right? I mean, when you're able to find somebody from another sport, bring them over and have them, excel, that is, that's the whole recipe, right? I mean, if you can do that, you're going to be successful.
yeah. And what's crazy too is the last three-peat in sports too. Just bringing it up was the Kobe Lakers in like the early 2000s. So
Interesting. I was just going to say, I had no idea. Like, if you were going to ask me that, I would have been like, you know what, God, I don't even know. I know the Spurs with their big three back in the day. They had some. I don't know if they ever won three in a row, but I know they won. They probably went back to back once or twice. I mean, they had. I think they
yeah,
won five with that group.
yeah, yeah, they did win five, but yeah, the Lakers took out, and then obviously you have to talk about Jordan and the Bulls too. So, a couple players that we'll see what ends up happening with the rest of Mahomes' career. We're far from writing him off, but
Oh, he'll probably have another one or two easy. I mean, he's too young. He's too good. But
I
yeah,
mean,
I
they made
mean,
three Super Bowls in a row, but I mean, we're going to start seeing some changes. I mean, I think right now, just the personnel, Chris Jones is getting older. Travis Kelce might be on his way out. And then, they did find a star in Xavier Worthy, but they have a lot of pieces they need to replace. And that offensive line
yeah,
looked like shit. So,
yeah,
yeah, we'll see.
agreed.
Hats off to the Eagles. Congrats, Philly fans, you bunch of animals. So, enjoy. Movies. Keeping on the topic of, the NFL. Obviously, we didn't have a podcast the last 2 weeks, so we didn't really get the breakdown. The Ben Johnson signing for the Bears, and then obviously the Jets completely cleared house mid-season. We did, and now we just signed Aaron Glenn and a new GM as well. His name's slipping my mind. He came from the Broncos. I think he was a special advisor up there. So, jumping in, let's start off with the Bears. They got the big fish. They got Ben Johnson. Didn't you? What did they sign him to?
I believe it was a 5 year, $65 million deal. That is $13 million a year for a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's the highest paid. Isn't he the highest paid now?
Um, if he's not, he's close to it. I'd have to look up the
I mean, it doesn't matter either way. He's like one of the highest paid
one
now,
of, yeah,
and it's just crazy too. But I mean, what he did with Detroit, I mean, the difference is that he's going to have a learning curve. He's not going to have the line he had with Detroit. Detroit built up the trenches, and they made sure their offensive line they could do all these little trick plays. It's going to be interesting to see what he implements in. I do think this is only going to benefit Caleb Williams. This was the guy that the Bears needed. You didn't want McCarthy. You don't want Aaron Glenn. No offense to Aaron Glenn. I'm happy with him. But you wanted that offensive-minded coach to help develop Caleb. That's what you brought in Caleb for, is to make him shine. Get all these wrinkles that he had in college out and then, put him in the NFL. So what he did with like barely any coaching, there was like an article that came out that apparently Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, didn't hold film sessions with him So I thought that was crazy. Um, so you never know, what you're going to see. So obviously that's an exciting hire for the Bear fans. Hopefully they get it right this time. I know that they got some holes to fill. Should be interesting. I think they draft at 10. Obviously, the fun pick would be Ashton Genty. Dan, you want to write him down because I'm sure you're picking number one overall somewhere in one of your football leagues. He's that running back out of Boise State, so that would be a fun, fun draft pick. Do I think it's logical? No. I think they draft a tackle, perhaps, if Will Campbell from LSU falls, or Kelvin Banks out of Texas.
Well, I tell you, we definitely could use some better offensive line, protection for sure. The Ben Johnson signing seems glitzy, seems glamorous. So we'll see. We'll see if he can, what he can do. I fully agree with you on the. I forget what word you used, but it's not going to be the learning curve, right? We don't have, our team's different than theirs. We've got some good offensive weapons, but so do they, and they've got better protection up front. So, um,
I mean, you go out, you got to re-sign Keenan Allen too. I think you bring him back. You see the emergence of Roma Dunze. Just keep the weapons available for Caleb, and then, like you said, like we just said, literally go out and get a brand new line. Essentially, I know. I think one of the players was like last name was Smith. He played on the Chiefs last night. He's a free agent, so go out and pay him. Pay him the money, get him in there, draft another tackle, and then hopefully you can kind of get that offensive line looking a lot better.
yeah, you know what? I think we'll see. We'll see what the interesting thing with Ben Johnson is I think he said him and his wife and maybe his I think he has some kids. I'm not sure. But I think they said that they were coming to Wrigley Field for
For
the
like,
last couple of years and been
yeah,
watching some games. So you know what? I mean, that another little jab for you, Jeffrey. He wasn't going to Guaranteed Rate or wherever. He was coming here, coming to
it's
Wrigley
okay.
Field,
It's okay
and
because remember, I'm a Jets fan. I just we're from Chicago, so I have to cover the team. I can't just be ignorant to them. Like, not saying anyone else is, but a lot of people will be like, "Well, I'm a fan of I don't watch them. I don't watch them." It's like, okay, you must be really busy, or you must not like sports, because I follow just about every team, but I try to follow them as much as possible. So yeah, I did see that about the Cubs. You know, maybe you guys did make a couple of moves too. We can touch on that maybe later too. But yeah, exciting hire for Ben Johnson and the
yeah,
Bears. We'll see what they end up doing.
we'll see. We'll see, Benny boy.
Yeah. All right. And then obviously my Jets, they got the new GM, and then they also went out and got Aaron Glenn, former
Aaron
player.
Glenn.
Aaron Glenn, let's go. I'm super jazzed about this because he is a defensive minded head coach. I think he can rally what defense we have left and hopefully get the morale. And he's going to, overall set the standard of good habits and get these players out of not playing well, essentially. Um, we'll see what happens. The problem is that they decided yesterday to break the news that they're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers. I think it's a mistake. I've said it on the podcast multiple times. What This team is still ready to win now. I don't care what anybody says. Everyone says, "Oh, it was Rodgers' fault." The players loved him. The players weren't Rodgers wasn't the issue. The issue was they fired their goddamn head coach after 4 fucking games last year, and then they fired their GM. So he basically did it with no coach, no GM. They basically got Devontae Adams, so he's gone too. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm not super optimistic. I think they win 3 games next year because the quarterback market's not great. The draft for the quarterbacks at where we're sitting, not great. If we're talking NFL free agents, I've already looked. Okay, Kirk Cousins, potentially, he's not a free agent, but you could trade for him. Awful. He's also like 36, 37, maybe. He can't move at all. We saw that with the Falcons this year. He can't move. Oh, let's see. Who's the next one? Russell Wilson? That would be a disaster. because he doesn't fit in here. Okay, so that's free agents. I don't want Justin
Justin
Fields.
Fields. There
Nope,
you go.
don't want him. Do not want him. Couldn't
Do
beat out
not
Russell
want.
Wilson. Couldn't beat out
Yeah.
Russell.
Well, what about? I'm sure you'd like this one, and this is just out of the air because I think Stafford is that they're trying to work out a new deal. But if they can't come to a deal with the Rams, Stafford could be an interesting name.
It would be very interesting. They wouldn't get him though.
Just saying.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know who else would be available other than those
I
couple
have no.
guys.
Let me state this too on the podcast. I would have no problem with Stafford. I would be overjoyed with Stafford. But
Yeah.
once again, because I'd want him as a bridge quarterback. I'd want him to do a year or two, have somebody sit behind him, and that's fine. Like I don't mind that. I think they could still win with him. The problem is they're losing Devontae Adams. That's another target gone. Lazard is as good as gone. They're not going to keep him. Get him out of here. And then so they have a couple holes now. So we'll see what they end up doing. The draft, like I said, isn't like fruitful for quarterbacks. I think we'll see the top of the draft take all of them. Cam Ward, he's out of Miami. He's really good. I'd be happy with him. We're not trading up to one though. Shadir Sanders, I don't think he's first round talent in my opinion. He's going to go in the top 5. Don't want him. And then Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. So I'd like him, but I don't think he's the savior. I feel like we would just go right back down the old Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson path.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that news was interesting when I saw that yesterday too about them saying, we're actually moving on from Aaron. We're not going to wait for him to see if he wants to play anymore.
They flew him out.
We're moving on.
I don't know if you saw that. They flew him out to New Jersey basically to say, hey, well, I don't know if they flew him out. They made sure he came out there, but they had a face-to-face with him, pretty much said, hey, we're moving on from you. Thank you for your service. See you later. I don't know why you do that. They're clearing house, and basically what that just told me was we're punting on 2025, and we're aiming for the 2026 class for a quarterback. That's what that tells me. Unless they draft one this year, which – I mean, like I said, I named 3 that are decent. I mean, you can look at Kyle McCord. He came out of Syracuse. He's a gunslinger, but I don't know what that fit. Basically, you just pissed off all the young core talent that you had that everybody was so excited about. You just pissed them all off, and they're not going to re-sign. So see you later, Brees. You might as well trade him because you have no need for a running back. Garrett Wilson probably good as gone because all the turnover, no quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another goddamn team that's probably going to be rebuilding.
Could be. We'll have to see. But that was big news for sure yesterday. I saw that and I'm like, oh my God. I thought we were going to wait and let Aaron decide. I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer. And it seemed like his time, he was only there for 2 years, right? And obviously he got hurt last year.
Basically won. I mean,
basically won. It's like, God, give the guy another. I know he's old, but still can sling it. And
yeah, I mean, like
I
I
thought
said,
they would have tried to give him one more year too. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense with the team that you have kind of around, but we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing. Maybe more creative minds than myself will have a plan, but it's disappointing to the fan base. I mean, it's kind of a spit in the face that you kind of sold tickets with Aaron Rodgers basically potentially coming back, and then you let him go. So draft process will be interesting for the Jets as well. They have a lot of holes that they need to fill, and they just added another piece to it. So we'll break that down on later podcasts.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll have to do our win totals for this next year for the Bears and the Jets.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, Jets are probably winning 3 or 4 games.
Well, the Bears were right around that this year, so we'll see. We'll see how we are next year.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the NBA trades. Obviously, we can run through these pretty quickly because well, let's start off with our shitty ass Bulls. That's another team that just pisses me the hell off because they don't have a plan. Their plan is to go be around 500 and just barely sneak into the playoffs. And you play that one home playoff game or you play that one playoff game and you get bounced. That's their goal. You traded away Zach LaVine And what did you get back? A bunch of garbage and your own 2025 first round pick.
You know, people. We've been talking about the rumors about trading Levine the last couple of years. We've all heard them. The last at least 2 or 3 years. You know, he got the big contract. Tough to move on from him and get a decent return, I guess. But Zach's a pretty darn good player. He's an all-star. I mean, he's a very good player. Um, so for Sacramento, you get a really solid player. I think he's back over there with DeRozan.
Yep.
So those two are teammates again. I hope they gelled here. So hopefully they're going to be good over there. But you know, I'm kind of sad to see Zach go because I liked him. You know, he was injured a little bit. You know, and we paid him way too much, but
Right.
he's a solid player. But yeah, the Bulls are a mess. We've talked about that.
Absolute disaster. They're
They don't know
worse.
what the hell they're doing.
I think they're in worse shape than the White Sox.
I when you're in that, you know, kind of competing for like that last like, you know, spot to make the playoffs, it's the games aren't really that fun. When you win one and you lose one, it's like, all right, you know, we don't have, you know, the guys right now to move the needle with and do something.
Yeah.
We got to trade some guys. We got to get some sort of return too. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really been able to see him play with that new contract we've mentioned. I don't know how many times, but with the new network deal or whatever. But you know what? Hopefully Zach goes over to Sacramento and plays well. I always liked him. But you
I
know
think
what? The Bulls we're a mess, and there's not much else to say other than, you know, we moved on from a couple guys. All right.
yeah, I mean essentially then they moved on from DeRozan too and they got nothing for him.
Yeah.
Like no first round picks, nothing. I mean, even a part of this trade, they got rid of a second round pick. Granted, the hit rate's very low on second round picks, but I mean, come on. Like, if you're gonna lose, then be bad. That's the thing. I don't want my teams to be mediocre and like go. No, I want you to be the worst goddamn team, break the record for being the worst team, and get the first overall pick. Except for in baseball, apparently you can't do that anymore. You know, I don't know. This regime sucks. I mean, I thought we were moving on from Garpax, but I mean, we just basically got Garpax Jr. AK is not the guy. Um, you know, Michael Reinsdorf, you know, you got to figure your shit out, man. Figure out this team. But
I,
you know,
I was excited when AK came over from Denver because you
everybody
looked at
was.
what he did and you're like, okay, like the Bulls are going somewhere. Something's going to happen.
Yeah,
And it's been just kind of moving around and fucking like quicksand. You know, you're doing nothing, and God, it makes you want to bang your head against the wall. But
yeah.
yeah, hopefully, I don't know.
Darren
I
Fox
don't
went
even
to
know.
the Spurs as part of that trade too. So good for
I,
him.
I, I was going to say there's a lot of other good things to say. I love De'Aaron Fox. I think he's such a good player.
Yeah,
You know, he came out a couple years ago. I think he went to Kentucky, and he was one of the top players coming out. And I forget, you'd have to go back and look at that draft, but he's been one of the better. And he wasn't the top guy or two that was taken. Few teams passed on him, and he came into his own a couple years ago, and he's been really good. And now you pair him with Wemby, and
yeah,
I think that's going to be a fun two-man team for a while if they can keep those two. Now you never really know. With this deadline, we had a bunch of guys move around. Guys
right.
sometimes are divas. We'll get into one of those, you know, in a few minutes. But um, De'Aaron Fox, love the kid. He's a stud. You pair him with Wembanyama for the next decade or more, and I think the Spurs. I forget who else the Spurs have. I'd have to look at the roster. But
Chris
you know,
Paul.
you okay, yeah. Well, you know, you get another serious guy or two over there. Um, you know, San
I love how you
Antonio.
glossed over the old man, Chris Paul.
Jesus Christ, give me
That guy's
somebody
been on
else.
more teams than I do have underwear.
How is he still playing? I thought he was just acting in State Farm commercials. I mean, is he really still playing? I actually thought he was done a couple years ago.
No, he's still playing apparently. So I don't know if he
Good
got
Lord,
hurt.
he's like the Frank Gore of the NFL.
Pretty much.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
yeah. I mean, moving into another trade too is Kyle Kuzma went from the Wizards to the Bucks. Thought that was interesting because the Wizards got Chris
I didn't
Middleton.
think he had any value. I didn't think Kuzma had any value left. And the Middleton, I almost feel like is the bigger name in that deal because Middleton's actually been decent.
Yeah, I think.
Kuzma, what the hell has Kuzma done? I think last year he was like, I thought he was okay, or maybe 2 years ago, but like he's done nothing. Who
Yeah,
the hell
no,
wants that guy?
I mean, nothing that I can really mention that like really stands out. I personally think that they just honestly wanted, a change of scenery with the Bucks, and I think that's why. If we break down the last couple of games, I mean, who knows? Who knows why they did it? But I mean, I think it opens up the floor for, you know, Damian Lillard to kind of another guy that I completely forgot about, but opens up the floor for more for him, and then when you have Giannis there, gives you another big name player to play with him.
And Giannis, didn't he just get hurt recently?
Yeah, I think so.
So so Lillard. It's kind of his team right now, I think, over there. So
Yeah,
we'll see what Dame can do. I mean, since he got there, it's been, he's been kind of like the two man, and he's
yeah, that
used to being
that
the
team's
one.
been a
So
mess. Yeah,
yeah, everyone thought, okay, Lillard with Giannis is going to be sick, and it hasn't been that way. But um, another interesting name. I don't know how good Brandon Ingram's been, but he went to Toronto. I don't
yeah,
know how his season's been. I think he's been an All-Star once or twice. I think he's been all right. So he's kind of an interesting name that moved around. The big one, or I guess I don't know if the big one's another one, but this one was interesting because it came with a little bit of drama. Was Jimmy Butler going to Golden State? You know,
yeah.
Jimmy's still a very good player, but I wrote down Jimmy Diva Butler in parentheses, and I also
Mhm.
wrote down Jimmy Barista Butler.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that that Netflix docu series that they follow players throughout the year? They had like LeBron James on there. Jimmy Butler was one of them.
I don't think I've seen it.
You'll have to turn into it. It's actually kind of interesting. It just like does the background, kind of like that quarterback show they did with like Mahomes a couple years ago.
Okay.
Interesting show. Yeah, Butler going to the Golden State Warriors kind of was shocking because he said he didn't want to go
Yeah.
there. They paid him. That's why they. I think that's why he
He
wanted.
wanted to go to Phoenix, I think, is what I heard.
I don't know why everyone wants to go to Phoenix, but
Yeah, it must be maybe the weather. Who the hell knows?
I don't know. It's really fucking hot there. That's another one. But
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah, Jimmy fits in good with the Golden State Warriors too. I mean, if you told me, hey, go play with Steph, absolutely. Kind of interesting though that they got rid of Andrew Wiggins too. Wiggins was one of those,
Yeah.
former number one overall picks. Never really found a true home, and then finally ended up in Golden State. Won a title with them a couple years back. Interesting that they got Butler. I think they still have some holes to kind of figure out, and that was a big trade. Lots of names. Josh Richardson went to the Jazz. Pistons got Dennis Schroeder, PJ Tucker to the Raptors. Just kind of an interesting trade overall. Basically, it's you got to get into the playoffs now, so the Warriors kind of have to win out and see where they go from there.
Yeah, I mean, you like how it sounds on paper with Curry and Butler, right? So you got those two. Um, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think the Heat did well though. They got Wiggins. We'll see if Wiggins can really do something with in Miami. And I think the Heat also got Kyle Anderson. I think
Yeah,
he's a decent player too. So it looks like the Heat got a decent return. Golden State, they get their man, I guess. They wanted another star to pair with Steph. You got that in Jimmy. Hopefully he doesn't pull his diva stuff over there. I don't know what the hell happened between him and Pat Riley and the Heat and what the hell happened, but he wanted out. He was
yeah.
like, get me the heck out of here.
I
So
mean, that guy and Jimmy Butler deserves all the credit in the world. He carried that team to through the playoffs a couple times too, and almost he took them to the finals one year, and then the next year, ran a little on E, but still, who knows. But I think the last trade we had to talk about is the the biggest one that shocked the world. Luka Doncic going to the Lakers for Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Didn't see this one coming. I'll be
No,
honest with you. I don't think anybody did. I think every Mavericks fan wants to uh, see this new guy in town, and they want to wring his neck. They want to,
they want to seek asylum is the best way to put it.
basically, they want to publicly execute this man, and I think that's putting it mildly.
Yeah,
I don't know why you move on from Luca. I think they this guy thought he was, kind of lazy and in a lot of shape, and he's hurt a little bit. But you know what? That's ridiculous. Luka's one of the top couple players in the world, and he's still young, and you almost forget that Mark Cuban isn't the owner there anymore. And
yeah, he
obviously if
sold
he
the team.
was,
Yeah,
Cuban would have never moved on from
no,
him. And he was on record saying, hey, he made a mistake back in the day with like was it Steve Nash or one
Steve
of
Nash, Jason Kidd. I mean, well, Jason Kidd I think came there late, but yeah, Steve Nash walked.
yeah, I mean, he was like, look, I made a mistake back in the day with a superstar. I'm not going to do it again. And Luca is fucking unreal, dude. I don't know why you move on from him. And the return on some of these deals, like some of the guys for the Bulls, like you said, we didn't get great returns. You look at this deal, it's like for the Mavericks, what are you really getting back? You got Anthony Davis. I'll be honest, I liked Anthony Davis when he came out of college. I liked him because he's from Chicago. I try to give people from Chicago a little, hey,
Yeah,
let's do it, right? And we produce a lot of really good basketball players, so you want to see him do well. But man, he has not really become. He's still a very good player, but I think he was having a really good game, and he just got hurt, so now he's
yeah,
out.
he
But
he's had a couple good years, like the last 2 years, because he stayed healthy. He was dominant. He was far from being the issue for once.
yeah,
It kind of sucks to see that. You trade away a good player like that. And Dallas is kind of on their. I mean, this is a win now team with Dallas. I think they can still do damage in the playoffs if Davis. I mean, Davis got hurt, but we'll see what the extent of that is. But odd trade. I think that's obviously the Lakers looking to the future. With Luca, which good for them. I think they won that trade pretty significantly. The problem
oh,
is that Marvin Williams trade that got vetoed basically because a couple of physicals got failed or something or another. That screwed the Lakers over because the deadline's over and they do not have a center. So probably a first round bounce for the King James and company unless they figure something out. But odd trade for both teams. I don't know why the Mavericks wanted to get rid of him. I mean, I think their GM just hated Luca because if you watched them celebrating when they went to go to the NBA Finals too, he took a beer right out of Luca's hand. So
he certainly did. That was like
he went
we've
he
all
went
seen
daddy
that clip.
mode. He went daddy mode
Yeah,
on him and just like took him. Like I'm like, you don't take a man's beer away from him like
yeah,
that.
that was a weird look for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, Luca, who knows? Who knows if he liked it in Dallas? I'm sure he did, but
he
you
did. I
know,
mean, he gave everything for him. So.
we'll see how he does with the Lakers.
Yep. Couple, kind of smaller news from baseball. Did you realize Justin Verlander signed with the Giants? Did we talk about that?
I did see that he signed there. I think it's a 1 year deal. Him
Yeah,
and
1 year,
him and
one
Scherzer
fifty.
both signed 1 year deals.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it. I forgot. Yeah, we definitely did. But I just looked over it. I'm like, oh, that was kind of surprising. But
San Francisco, they're shaping up to have a. I mean, they're in such a tough division, obviously, but I looked at. I had the Baseball Network on earlier. Their rotation potentially with Logan Webb. They got Robbie Ray if he can stay healthy. They got
yeah,
Verlander, Kyle Harrison, young kid who should be solid, and then I think
heard
they're
so.
going to let Jordan Hicks go again. Who I
Oh
think he
yeah,
had about a 4 ERA last year, but those are all pretty solid names.
yeah.
They've got some young talent too. That Tyler Fitzgerald came up last year, looked really good. They got a couple other pieces. That kid they just drafted, Eldridge looks like
Yeah,
he's
he should be up
pretty
this year
solid.
too.
So they, I mean, I'm not super high on San Francisco, but I'm a little higher on them than I would have been looking if some of those guys can stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously, have to talk to you about your Cubbies. You guys went out and traded for Ryan Presley. I think you guys got him for a bag of balls and a nickel.
And a nickel.
And a nickel.
Yeah,
That's a great signing for you guys because, or a great trade because you guys desperately needed the bullpen help.
we did.
And he's a closer. It just the Astros decided to go get the best closer on the market and Josh
Yeah,
Hader. So I think that helps you guys a lot. We'll see what it is when he pitches in Wrigley. But you guys also traded for I think Brazier or what's his name from the Dodgers.
Brazier, I think.
Brazier.
Ryan Brazier. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Brazier. And that was pretty much a gimme trade as well. So bullpen help is coming.
Yeah, we didn't have to give up, like you said, a ton to get Presley, and then Brazier. I think was that a trade or was that just a signing?
It was a so they designated for an assignment
Yeah,
and with the Dodgers. So basically, it was a get him out of town for free. Which what's funny is he's a great relief pitcher too. He was coming off of like a career year last year, so
yeah.
good for the
You know
Cubs.
what? We definitely needed. That's one area we need some help for sure. Maybe the biggest area was some bullpen and the late inning relief too. So Presley a little bit older closer, but he's had some really good years with Houston. You said they brought Hader over. When you bring a guy like that over, you're not going to be the ninth inning guy. I don't know how he was last year in the eighth inning. I think he
He's
was kind of
solid.
an eighth inning guy. I think he was solid, but
Yeah,
he should do pretty well. He'll be a lot better than anybody we had last year.
yeah, say the
And
least.
yeah, and Brazier for sure. If he's kind of a setup role guy, we'll see. I don't really know who the hell else we have down there in our bullpen, to be honest. But yeah, those two are. It's a good start for sure. I definitely would like to see another arm or two. Ricketts doesn't want to spend any money. I was just down there for a little Super Bowl party last night. My buddy Tom lives literally, I mean, like a block or two from Wrigley. He steps outside his place and you can see the small Cheval sign. So, um, there's a lot of good places to eat down there, Tom. You've done well. It's a nice little area. But let's, come on now. Let's try to get Kyle Tucker signed. Let's do something. And my goodness, I mean, Alex Bregman is still out there.
I was gonna say
What are we doing?
nobody wants him. He's looking for a 6-7 year deal. At like what is he 31 now?
He wants a nice deal. Yeah, he doesn't want to sign another deal. I don't think he wants to have
Right.
the big one. So,
I
I
mean,
mean,
he's
is
a
he going to
fit.
go back to Houston for lesser
They said,
money? I don't
they
think
said that
so.
the
But
ship has sailed. They said that we lost Bregman. That's what the GM said, literally like word for word. He was like, "We lost him." So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. If the Cubs don't sign him, it's not the end of the world, but it makes them a better team for sure. You bring over the winning mentality from the Astros, so you guys might finish like 10 games over 500 or over 500. You guys could win the division for sure.
it's a very winnable division, right? I mean, Milwaukee's not a
We've
world beater
talked
by
about
any
it ad
means.
nauseum
Yeah.
with that. I mean, we'll
So,
we'll break it down further once like all the other signings start kind of rolling through. We
sure.
pitchers and catchers reported for the Cubs yesterday too. So
Yeah, spring training. God, it's like I think it starts in a couple of days or something. I mean, we're right around the corner. I just saw that today too. Baseball's going to be starting in like a month or so. We got some big name guys that need to sign,
yep.
and I'm getting excited. We got some other sports. Football just came to a close, so we're done there. But you know, um,
I'm on autopilot until August.
I'm just waiting for. I got to watch some more college basketball because March Madness
Yeah,
is
we got March
approaching.
Madness. I kind of forgot about that until we started recording, and I'm like, at least we have March Madness in like a month. Because I was gonna pause
Yeah,
my YouTube TV, and then I looked at it. It said like March 7th. I could like that's my like next bill, and I'm like, well, that doesn't do me any good. March Madness
yeah,
starts like at that time, so I'm like,
yeah.
whatever. So, yeah, best time of the year. Obviously, you'll be like I always host a bracket, so we'll do that. Again, that's always fun, but Yeah,
Always.
baseball's right around the corner. Um, you know, uh, my dynasty team for baseball is going to be. We have the draft coming up on the 28th, so um, get time to go for that three-peat.
Did you update that to see like what picks everybody has? I don't know if I've been on. I've
Yeah,
been checking my other league because I know the other league I'm in. We're drafting like a week before that one, so I've been checking that one a little bit more. But you have
yeah,
like the picks updated and everything.
yeah, they should be. I'll double
Okay,
check, but yeah, they should be updated in there. We have that, and then obviously our keeper league is in March.
in March. Yeah, I
Yep.
still got to figure out my keepers.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I have so many to choose from, but I have like no picks, so it'll be interesting. I'm gonna have to kind of rely on my core.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
I know I will be. So we got new blood. We got new blood in the league too. Shout out a couple of those guys: Adam, Jeremy, and Josh. So welcome to the league. I know you guys don't listen to the podcast, but a little shout out to you guys. Um, you know, let's just say you guys will know who Daddy is when it comes to winning the championships. So.
Here it comes. Here we go.
Well, I have to go for my three-peat in Dynasty. They're not in that league, but have to go for the three-peat with my current squad. So we'll see.
Boy, I tell you, three-peat in real life or fantasy, still quite the feat. So
It'll
we'll
be
see.
it'll be a hell of a roll. I mean, we dropped two teams in that league, but I mean, we're gonna push for it full throttle. Let's get it. So I think we could close it out there. Any closing words?
48.
48.
48.
Got at least we have the combine coming up soon too. So
We got a lot of good content coming for you from these Gabagools.
absolutely. All right. Signing off.